Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's presentation. I'm excited to have you here. Today, we're going to explore dialogue completion. The focus will be on understanding how to effectively complete dialogues. We'll look at strategies, examples, and best practices. So, let's get started and dive into this interesting topic together. Let's take a look at Chapter 1, Completing Dialogues. In this section, we're focusing on how to effectively finish conversations in a way that feels natural and engaging. We'll explore key strategies for wrapping up dialogue smoothly, making sure the other person feels heard and understood. It's important to highlight that completing dialogues isn't just about ending a conversation. It's about doing so in a way that leaves a positive impression and sets the stage for future interactions. Throughout this chapter, we'll connect these ideas back to the overall theme of building stronger communication skills. By mastering the art of completing dialogues, you'll enhance your ability to connect more authentically and confidently in any situation. Now let's take a look at a typical interaction between a customer and a waiter. You'll notice that the customer starts by saying, "Waiter, I'm in a hurry." This immediately sets the tone and highlights the importance of clear communication, especially when time is of the essence. The waiter responds calmly, "No, sir, it's coming in a minute," which shows patience and professionalism. The customer then stresses the urgency, saying, "Please hurry up, I have to rush in 15 minutes." This emphasizes how important timing is in service scenarios. We also see some common questions and concerns like, "Will my pancake be long?" which points to expectations about the food, or "Who is going to take my order?" indicating the need for clear service procedures. There's also a remark about spending too much money. "You spend too much," which can reflect customer frustration or concern about value. Asking for a menu, "May I have a menu?" is a polite way to request more information or options. Lastly, the customer says, "It's time to get up," which could suggest readiness to leave or frustration with the wait. This exchange underscores the importance of effective communication in customer service, understanding needs, managing expectations, and maintaining professionalism even under pressure. Recognizing these points helps us improve how we interact and ensure a better experience for everyone involved. Let's look at this example of a typical football match conversation. You can see that Mike starts by asking, "Did you see the football match last night?" It's a common way to begin a casual chat about a recent event. Then, Tom responds with one of several possible answers. For instance, he might say, "No, I didn't like it," or "No, I missed it," or "Yes, it was very exciting." These responses show different ways people might react based on whether they watched the game or their feelings about it. Mike then follows up with, "How was it?" This question invites Tom to share his opinion or experience of the match. The key point here is that these kinds of conversations are very typical in everyday life. They involve asking about recent events, sharing opinions, and showing interest in each other's experiences. Notice also that the options provided, like "It was wonderful," "We won," or "It was a draw," give us useful vocabulary and expressions to talk about sports events. This conversation illustrates how to ask about something, respond, and express feelings or results, which are important skills in both casual and formal conversations. By practicing these kinds of exchanges, you'll become more confident in discussing recent events, expressing opinions, and engaging in natural dialogue, skills that are essential for effective communication in any context. Let's take a closer look at this interaction between the teacher and the student. You can see that the teacher asks, "Why didn't you bring your homework on time?" This question highlights the importance of responsibility and timely submission in the classroom. The student's response can vary. Some might say, "I'm really sorry," which shows acknowledgement and remorse, or they might respond with something unrelated, like "It's none of your business," which indicates a different attitude. The teacher's follow-up, "All right, but please do it for tomorrow," emphasizes the expectation that students complete their work promptly. Notice the contrast between the teacher's straightforward approach and the student's possible reactions, which can range from responsible to dismissive. Understanding these dynamics is key because it reflects broader themes about communication, accountability, and respect in educational settings. Recognizing the different responses helps us see how students and teachers navigate expectations and attitudes, which is essential for creating a positive learning environment. Now let's take a closer look at this movie discussion example. Here, Jake starts by asking Karen how she liked the movie she saw last night. It's a common way to initiate a casual conversation about entertainment. Karen responds honestly, saying it wasn't the best she's ever seen, which sets a realistic tone. Jake then reacts with "really," showing curiosity and encouraging her to share more. Karen then emphasizes her opinion by saying, "Certainly not," and warns him not to waste his time on the movie, which highlights how personal opinions can vary widely. The conversation then shifts to more specific questions. Did she go alone or with a friend? This kind of detail can help understand her experience better. The phrase, "What do you mean by saying it depends?" introduces a nuanced view that sometimes opinions depend on context or personal preferences. The follow-up questions like, "Then you wouldn't recommend it, would you?" And "Hadn't you read the reviews before you went?" showcase different ways of expressing opinions and gathering insights. Finally, Karen mentions she knew she could always count on Jake, reflecting trust and familiarity in their exchange. This interaction exemplifies how people share honest opinions about movies, often blending personal judgments with external factors like reviews or company. Overall, it demonstrates effective communication, asking questions, sharing opinions, and building rapport, all of which are key in engaging conversations about entertainment or any shared interests. So in this slide, we see a conversation between a father and his son that highlights a common family dynamic. The father is surprised and perhaps a bit frustrated, asking, "What? You crashed the car again." This shows that this isn't the first time such an incident has happened, which is important for understanding the ongoing issues. The son responds with silence or hesitation, which can suggest guilt or reluctance to admit fault. The father then reminds him, "I'm sure it wasn't," emphasizing his disbelief or maybe a hope to give his son the benefit of the doubt, but he quickly points out that this is the third accident you have had this year. That detail underscores the pattern and raises questions about responsibility and safety. At this point, the son tries to deflect or change the subject, saying, "You're very angry now, Dad. We had better talk about this later on." This indicates the tension and perhaps a desire to avoid confrontation at that moment. Now, looking at the possible responses the son could give, option A, "I do apologize. I promise it won't happen again," is a responsible and respectful way to acknowledge the mistake. It shows remorse and a willingness to improve, which is key in mending trust and responsibility. Option C, "But it wasn't my fault. You've got to believe me," shifts the blame and avoids taking responsibility, which might complicate the situation further. Option E, "Why do you ask? Don't you know it's too late now?" sounds defensive and dismissive, not constructive. Option B, "Was the car in good condition?" could be relevant if we're discussing technical reasons, but it sidesteps the emotional and responsibility aspects. And D, "Was it worth the money and time you had wasted?" might come off as confrontational or dismissive of the issue. The most appropriate and constructive response here is option A, as it demonstrates accountability and a willingness to address the problem, which ties into the broader theme of responsibility and communication within families. It reminds us that acknowledging mistakes openly is a vital step toward resolution and trust building. So let's talk about phone conversations and the challenges people face when speaking in English. Sandra asks, "How do you find using the phone in English?" This question invites us to reflect on our own experiences. Clara responds, "Was it the same for you too?" indicating that she faced similar difficulties. Tom agrees, saying, "Yes, it was difficult for me as well at the beginning," emphasizing that starting out with phone conversations in a new language can be tricky. But he also mentions, "It was difficult, but I think I'm gradually getting used to it," showing that practice and persistence help improve communication over time. Now, to connect this to broader themes, we see how technology plays a role, like the mention of having had an Ericsson phone, which highlights how communication tools have evolved. Clara also mentions, "I think the best communication device is email," suggesting that different methods suit different situations. Tom adds, "I don't like technical questions," which points to how some aspects of technology can be intimidating. Lastly, the note about his father buying a new cell phone reminds us that staying updated with technology is part of adapting to modern communication. Overall, these points illustrate that while phone conversations in English can be challenging at first, with time and experience, they become easier. It's part of the ongoing process of improving our communication skills and adapting to new tools. So let's talk about weekend plans. I asked John how his weekend was, and he responded, and then Mike shared his experience. Mike mentioned that some friends came over for a barbecue, which sounds like a nice plan, right? But he also said it was spoiled by kids. Now, this is a common situation where children can sometimes be a bit disruptive during social gatherings. John then responds with a comment, which I interpret as an empathetic or understanding remark, and Mike explains that the kids made a lot of noise and kept interrupting, which probably made it difficult to enjoy the day. This exchange highlights a few key ideas. First, the importance of managing social events and understanding that children, while fun and lively, can sometimes cause disruptions. Second, it shows how communication helps us share our experiences and feelings about such situations. Now, connecting this to the overall theme of the presentation, which is about social interactions and managing different situations gracefully, it's clear that patience and understanding are essential qualities. Also, the questions that follow, what the program was about, whether they were at home, what the children did, what they usually do, and whether you like children, are meant to deepen the discussion. They encourage us to think about different scenarios, routines, and personal preferences, which are all relevant when navigating social and family life. So, in essence, this slide reminds us that family and friends gatherings can be joyful but sometimes challenging, and how we respond can make all the difference. All right, let's talk about choosing a movie for the evening. So Betty starts the conversation by asking Andy, "What film would you like to see tonight?" This sets the stage for a typical decision-making process. Now, Andy responds with a simple, "I don't want to watch a film," which might seem a bit frustrating, but it's a valid option if he's not in the mood. Betty then suggests going out for dinner instead, which shows flexibility and an understanding that sometimes the best plans are spontaneous. Alternatively, Andy could say, "I watched Lord of the Rings last month," indicating he's already seen that film and perhaps suggesting they choose something different. Or he might say, "He should have won the Oscar," which hints at a favorite actor or film he's passionate about. Finally, Andy might just say, "I don't mind. Whatever you want," signaling that he's open and willing to go along with whatever Betty prefers. This exchange highlights key concepts in communication, like expressing preferences clearly, being flexible, and understanding each other's interests. It also ties into the overall theme of decision-making and compromise in social situations. The most important thing to remember is that open, honest communication helps make choices easier and more enjoyable for everyone involved. Let's take a closer look at some common ways to arrange meetings and communicate scheduling preferences. Wendy starts by suggesting, "Shall we meet this afternoon at 3:00 p.m.?" This is a polite way to propose a specific time. Ben responds with, which could be a variety of replies like agreeing, suggesting a different time, or declining. It's important to note how flexible or assertive responses can be in these conversations. Wendy then proposes, "What about a bit later?" indicating she's flexible and willing to adjust the timing. Ben agrees with, "Fine, let's meet around 6. This shows the importance of mutual agreement and how to find a convenient time for both parties. The dialogue also touches on other common expressions, like, "I don't want to see you," which might be used in more personal conversations, and "Why don't we meet on Tuesday?" which offers an alternative date. Additionally, there's a reminder that sometimes schedules conflict, exemplified by "sorry, I can't make it at 3 p.m., highlighting the importance of clear communication about availability. The slide also includes casual questions like, "Do you like Chinese food?" which can be part of informal meeting planning or social conversations. Finally, there's a note about someone needing to fly out. "I have to fly to Budapest for a few days, and I'm leaving at 5 p.m. This emphasizes the importance of sharing travel plans when coordinating meetings. Overall, this slide demonstrates various ways to suggest, accept, decline, and reschedule meetings, which are essential skills in professional communication. It ties back to the overall theme of effective, polite, and clear scheduling conversations. Now, let's look at an example of a typical ticket booking conversation at the cinema. When I call the ticket office, they usually answer with a friendly greeting, like, "Hello, Odeon Cinema." Then, Laura might start the conversation by saying something simple like, "Hello," and the ticket office responds to confirm they're ready to assist. Laura then explains her situation. She wants to buy tickets, but plans to pay in cash when she arrives, so she asks the staff to hold her tickets. This kind of exchange highlights the importance of clear communication about payment methods and reservation requests. In the conversation, you'll notice questions like, "How much are the tickets?" and "Can I book 2 seats for tonight's film?" These are common questions when planning a cinema visit, asking about prices and reserving seats in advance. There's also a personal touch, with Laura asking, "Would you like to come to the cinema with me tonight?" This shows how social plans often involve coordinating with friends or family, and she expresses her wish to attend the premiere even if she can't make it this time. Overall, this slide emphasizes the key aspects of ticket booking: polite interactions, confirming details like number of seats, payment options, and personal plans. These conversations are essential in understanding how to communicate effectively when making reservations or inquiries at a cinema or any other service.